And welcome back to Planet Nibiru. Yesterday we had taken a look at the pattern of earthquakes that have been happening in the last 100 years or so, and how they have basically hockey sticked or spiked over certainly the last 20 years. They've certainly had a massive spike, but they've been gradually climbing over the last 100 years or so. Today we're going to be taking a look at volcanoes and some of the other earth changes that are in effect right now that we're all experiencing. And we can take a look at almost any graph that you can Google, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Starting around 2000, it looks like things started to pick up, and then the later we got, the more and more erupting volcanoes that we have. If we look at an interactive map of erupting volcanoes, this is a great map because it gives us all of the erupting volcanoes or active volcanoes and recent earthquakes. And we can hide the earthquakes, or we can hide the volcanoes. And the volcanoes will give you the colors of yellow for volcanoes that are at unrest, orange for warnings and minor activity, red for an eruption. So, and then of course the quakes will be magnitude 3, magnitude 4, 5, 6, and 7 plus in the past 24 hours. We also have in orange the past 48 hours, and the past week would be in this tannish color here. So we can turn off. I'll show you what that looks like if we turn off quakes. And you'll notice that quakes are going to be denoted here in circles. So you can see we have the circles that are around the globe, and then of course the triangles represent active volcanoes, or volcanoes that have some type of action going on. Obviously the yellow ones being just some unrest, something's going on there. The orange ones are minor activity, and then the ones that are having eruptions. And just look at how many red volcanoes or erupting volcanoes there are worldwide right now. Even down here in Antarctica, we have some erupting volcanoes, which is kind of weird, kind of strange. Didn't know that they happened down there, but I guess it makes sense that we would have them pretty much everywhere. These are the ones that we know about and that are land-based. Obviously, there are probably thousands underneath the sea that we are not monitoring, that we don't have a way of visually noticing that they are erupting. The only way we would know is maybe some seismic activity, some of these seismographs picking up some of the vibrations from the eruptions. That's a possibility. But when we come back and we actually just look at, let's turn off all the volcanoes and let's just see how this map just kind of, wow, that's what our world should look like. And then we turn it back on and we see what's actually going on. And we can see here, this would be the left-hand side of the ring of fire, and this here would be the right-hand side of the ring of fire. You can see this is Alaska coming over here and then coming down to California here. That would be this. So as we cross over to Japan and Eurasia, we can see that the most active region, which is called the Ring of Fire, is definitely living up to its name, not only in earthquakes but also in volcanoes. So what does this mean? As we were alluding to yesterday, that since maybe the turn of the century, and I don't mean 2000, I mean the turn of the century around 1900, the earthquake patterns and some weather patterns started to change drastically. Earthquakes certainly started to build, and around maybe the 60s, 70s, weather patterns started changing slightly. It sped up during the 80s and 90s. I don't know if some of you folks may be old enough to remember. During the 80s, there was a big thing with harmful CFCs, or harmful chlorofluorocarbons, and they were saying that the underarm spray that a lot of people were using, or hairsprays, were putting too many harmful CFCs into the atmosphere, which was creating a hole in the ozone layer. And that was a big thing back in the 80s and early 90s. It was a hole in the ozone layer, and that was a huge problem. Well, that kind of morphed into what we know now as global warming, and or man-made global warming, and what some of these scientists are saying is the cause for these earth changes that are happening, which I personally find it very, very hard to believe that man is causing all of these global earth changes. If it was just something that was limited to the atmosphere and not the geography of the planet, it might be a little bit easier to swallow. However, I think that when we look at the earthquakes and we look at the volcanoes, certainly man is not causing those. And I believe that it's the heating of the core of the planet. The core of several other planets have been getting noticeably hotter, according to science journals and recent science articles. The inner planets of our solar system are heating up for some unknown reason, and what could that reason be? I think when logical people start to see data points, they start to connect those dots, and they can come up with a reasonable conclusion, as some scientists already have, that there is some other large body out there in our solar system that is exerting an electromagnetic pull on not only our planet, but all of the planets in our solar system. The search for Planet X began, it was originally called Neptune's perturber. And what that means is it was slightly perturbing or deviating the orbit of the planet Neptune, and they wanted to know why. What was it? What was out there that was causing the orbit of this planet to change slightly, so every so often? It takes a lot of electromagnetic force or energy to move a planet out of its designated orbit around the sun. The sun is a pretty powerful electromagnetic generator, and it keeps all of the planets in their natural orbits and at their natural distances. For anything to be powerful enough to move a planet out of that orbit, it would have to be massive, and it would have to be exerting massive power. And that's why we come to the conclusion of Planet X, Nibiru. Whether you want to believe that it's a small solar system with planets in tow, a group of planets, maybe one massive planet, it doesn't really matter. The end result is the same, that we are experiencing massive earth changes on a scale that we have never experienced before, and it is causing problems for humanity across the globe. And we'll take a look at some of those problems now.
Smartest beachside property that took the brunt of the storm Wind and rain combined with a very high tide to pound cliffs and sweep away homes and swimming pools that had been on top of them. The sand and soil here simply melted away.
It was terrifying. I've never seen anything like it and I don't want to again. It was like out of a movie.
The autumn storm lashed the entire length of Australia's east coast over the weekend. It started in the north in the state of Queensland and gradually spiralled south. It dumped huge amounts of rain. In 2 days, more than 5 times what most places get in all of June. Widespread flooding and huge ocean waves forced hundreds of people from their homes. Transport was severely disrupted with train lines and roads flooded. The storm was swept away in their cars. They were trapped as rivers burst their banks and poured over roads. Rescuers near Canberra were trying to pull one driver to safety when the floodwaters dragged away his car.
The vehicle has shifted and the male has disappeared from view along with the vehicle.
Australia's Prime Minister interrupted his election campaigning to be updated on the floods.
Our condolences to the families of those who have lost their lives in these storms.
On Monday, as the winds died down and rains eased across the state of New South Wales, emergency services were able to inspect the worst of the damage and start some basic repairs. Over the course of Monday, the storm moved south, away from Sydney. The airport here is back to normal. It's now Tasmania that's feeling its full force. In the town of Launceston, hundreds were evacuated from their homes before the storm hit. Even so, people were swept away. The conditions on the island state are said to be worse than during its most devastating floods on record in 1929. Andrew Thomas, Al Jazeera.
It's simply unbearably hot. You can't really see it, but you sure can feel it. And it feels like you're sitting in an oven with hot wind blowing at you from day to night. India recently recorded its highest ever temperature, mercury in one town shooting up to 51 degrees Celsius or 124 degrees Fahrenheit.
Water is now so precious in Madhya Pradesh that it's protected by armed guards. This reservoir is the main source of drinking water for thousands in the central Indian state, and to stop local farmers dipping in their buckets and stealing from it, it's now patrolled 24 hours a day.